The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
First Take podcast coming to you on September 29th, 2022. Happy Thursday, everybody here. Listen to the podcast. Of course, everybody, of course, in the state of Florida, especially around me, especially the West Coast, Florida. Stay safe, please. Hurricane Ian just landed hours ago. My best friend's actually in the eye of the storm, although I heard from him already. He says everything's fine. No power lost. Everything's fine. No damage, nothing like that. So shout out to my best friend Alex, of course, who's doing very well. Him and his family, his wife and two girls. Friends also in the eye, not in the eye, but in the path of the storm. Of course, our own Kyle Nash of the podcast in Orlando. Stay safe, of course. Friends of mine in Gainesville, up north, please stay safe. Even people who are on the East Coast, like, near me, here. Yeah, we're out of the cone, but at the same time, we still have to be very vigilant. There's still squalls and, feeder bands out there that may have potential tornadoes or really rough weather out there. So be very careful, guys. Be very careful, please. Stay safe, of course. I'm saying this live, obviously. I mean, this podcast is going to go up later. So, but yeah, it's been a day of thinking about the hurricane. Of course, I was at work today, and it was a weird day because it wasn't as busy, but it was also busy. It wasn't as busy as it normally is, but same time, people still came in and and gambled and all that. It is what it is. But it's been that kind of day, really. Anyway, let me get some water real quick. Clear my throat. I'm really tired. I'm actually recording this. I said September 29th rather, because technically it's the 28th. I'm recording this podcast on Wednesday night. Normally, when I do the Thursday shows, it's done on Thursdays. However, because of the hurricane, my kids will be home tomorrow again, or I'll be home today from school. Safeguard, of course. So I know for a fact, because of that, I'm not having any time to record any of the podcast, the Thursday podcast at all. So I'm gonna try to get in now as they're asleep, obviously, to do it. So it's this is the good thing about doing this medium. You can do it whenever you want, which is great. I'm gonna try to keep this to about 30 minutes. I can look semi shorter, if you will. And a couple things to talk about real quick. This weekend's college football slate is really intriguing. Last couple of weeks, we've had some good games last couple of weeks, but the matchups going into it hasn't really been something that I look forward to. Although, like I said, we've had some decent matchups in the end, but we have some really good matchups this weekend. Actually, looking forward to it. A lot of them actually are in the ACC. Obviously, the big showdown between Clemson, number 5 Clemson against number 10 NC State. Big game there. Obviously, the winner of that game puts themselves in a position to maybe backdoor for a playoff. The playoff 4. But obviously ACC gets a lot of hell from people, not being a good conference. But you have that game this weekend. You have the Wake Forest Florida State game, of course. I'm looking forward to battle of the 22 versus 23. That should be a intriguing game, of course. You have Kentucky and Ole Miss. Kentucky a little bit of a upset alert as they're ranked in top 10, but a lot of people are picking Ole Miss to win that game. We'll see how that plays out. You also have Oklahoma State and Baylor, a Big 12 game, big one. So we have some really good games this weekend. And as I said also on the last whole episode I did, I've been doing well in college on my gambling in college. NFL not so much, so I might be taking a break from NFL this week. I say that, but I may end up doing a parlay on Sunday morning. Who knows? But yeah, I'm looking forward to the college football slate this weekend. Looking forward to it, especially Florida State and Wake Forest. Especially Clemson and NC State, because that can set the table for things to come if the ACC is going to actually have a chance to crack the playoff 4. Because right now, I still think two SEC teams are going to the playoff. Whether it be Georgia, Alabama, or Georgia, or someone else, or Georgia, Tennessee, who knows? And then maybe 2 Big Ten teams, Michigan and or Ohio State. But we'll see how that plays out, obviously. And USC's in the mix too in the Pac-12, so that's their last chance to make some noise in the for the Pac-12. So that's it there for college for now. We'll get back to obviously next week. We'll talk about more about the how these games played out. NFL talk real quick. Been a couple of narrative stuff. We touched a little bit on this on the Football's Awesome podcast episode that came out 2 days ago about the Dallas Cowboys. Also in 2-1 now. I'm going to say something that people are going to think I'm crazy for saying this. And I was on the kind of on the nose about this, weeks ago when Dak Prescott went down. Dallas Cowboys right now is still a playoff team. I don't know if you guys pay attention, but they're 2-1. The NFC, every team not named Philadelphia is vulnerable right now. The Rams, the Bucks, the Packers are, they won a couple big games here the last couple weeks, but I'm not completely sold on the Packers long term. Although I like what they're doing there with the power game and the defense and the not being over, Aaron Rodgers over-reliant or over-reliant on Aaron Rodgers for that matter. It's wide open. Lots of things going on there. And the thing I said on that podcast is that the defense on the Cowboys, something I haven't said in almost 30 years. Dallas Cowboys have an elite defense. I haven't said that since 1995, honestly. And that travels one. And I kept this is why again I did not put in my bottom five. I said this: if the Cowboys, if the defense can hold serve, if Cooper Rush could not make mistakes and play mistake-free football and hold forward down, and the running game is okay with Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, they'll be fine. You think I like you guys think I like complimenting the Cowboys? Really? I don't. But I also know how to separate my love for the Giants and my love for the teams I root for in what is sport versus what is reality. Dallas Cowboys are still a playoff team because what they do well travels well into January. Okay? And again, you have a lot of teams in the NFC that aren't, that people picking Detroit to make the playoffs, some people pick Minnesota, and lots of teams in the mix there. Dallas could beat those teams. Why couldn't Dallas beat those teams? Honestly. They're a playoff team right now. I don't know why people are shocked by that when I say that. They'll get Dak back, and I think honestly, even if they get Dak Prescott back, and when they get him back, the philosophy should not change. It should be a run-first offense, defense-oriented, ball control. This is how you counter great teams like Kansas City and great offensive teams like Buffalo and all that. It's ball control offense, stout defense. Even in a league where quarterback isn't important, I still believe that philosophy still works for the most part. So look, the Cowboys are a playoff team right now, and they play Washington this weekend. The Commanders, I think they'll win that game honestly. At home, So that's where I'm at. I know certain people, lots of friends of mine are Cowboys fans. Talking to Big Jim, of course. Didn't believe in the Cowboys at week one. They want to refuse to call them bottom five. You want to call them bottom five team when I told you they weren't. You may not like how I felt about that, but that's okay. It's okay. Just know I'm right. You know what I'm saying? Just know I was right on that. You don't have to apologize to me. But you just know I'm right, and I think I'm right. So they are a playoff team. You may not like it, but accept it. That's simple. Other narrative we've been also following this week in the world of football. The Lamar Jackson narrative is beyond annoying now. What bothers me with the Lamar Jackson thing. Look, when we talk about the contract situation between him and the Ravens, and about I understand both sides of the argument, both parties. I understand Lamar's him wanting a fully guaranteed contract. Totally get it, and I think deserves it for the record too. I also at the same time understand the Ravens, fear of giving him that money, not because it's not good enough, but because of the fact that his style of play of football, we don't know if that sustains or will it sustain for 5, 6, 7 years, as it gets older, running style, whatever. But what Lamar Jackson has done this year, and he's done the last couple of years, is every time we say something about Lamar Jackson that he doesn't do right, it's corrected, and then we start moving the goalpost. That's what bothers me. Oh, he can't throw the ball in the pocket anymore until he then does, and now you want to change it to something else. And I'm not even going to make it about race because people, there's a lot of race baiters who want to make it about, oh, he's a black quarterback. But I have to be honest with you, sometimes it makes you wonder because, and granted, I think Josh Allen gets some of the same criticisms as well. Being a guy that needs to learn how to slide, try to make the correct football play and not put his body on line every single play because it may affect his future going forward. We hear that out there too. We hear it out there as well too. It's out there, but not to the extent that Lamar gets the criticism. Not to an extent. And it's annoying. we keep moving the goalposts. All he needs to win a big playoff game. Year 5 minutes into his NFL career. Will you give Peyton Manning the same grace then too? Were you giving other quarterbacks who are great 4 years in a career the same grace? So why isn't Lamar getting all the goalpost move every time he does the thing you ask him to do? That's what bothers me about the narrative. It's beyond annoying. And again, it's not a race. It's bad analysis, honestly. Right now he's probably MVP in my eyes. 3 guys: him, Jalen Hurts, or Josh Allen. You pick it. This guy's always in the conversation. Last year, prior to him getting hurt, 8-3. 8-3. Ravens, number 1 seed in the AFC. In a year where the AFC was stacked. 8-3. Coming to the year with already injuries coming to the season. People like me changing their picks, changing their playoff picks at the time because too many injuries. And still including injuries for the team at the time, and still ending up 8-3, number 1 seed in the AFC, MVP front runner, and then he gets hurt. And then after that, the Ravens lose every single freaking game the rest of the way. But you want to tell me Lamar Jackson's value is not enough. You want to tell me Lamar Jackson doesn't deserve a fully guaranteed contract. Okay. All I know is when Lamar Jackson's the quarterback of the Ravens, they're always winning. That's all I know. Is that every time he is on the field with his team, he's winning. Now, yes, he's not winning the Super Bowl because, again, the Ravens don't have a team suited enough to go the full distance. But you got to get to the playoffs first to go the distance anyway. Again, Lamar's on the team. They're a 2-3 win team anyway. Forget the playoffs. You guys are with the first pick in the NFL draft next year. So, again, we can't have both ways. Quit the changing of the goalposts every single fucking time. This guy he does the thing you ask him to do. It's annoying now. It's beyond annoying. Let's stop that now. Anyway, we got poll results now that we put up 2 days ago. On the last solo pod, I asked you guys, and I put it on my Twitter page, which 3-0 team right now is the most impressive. And after 58 votes, the Eagles won by a landslide. The Eagles got 71% of the votes, and the Dolphins got 29% of the votes. Only 2 teams that are beaten left in the NFL. I'm a little surprised at that wide margin. Yes, I would say yes, the Eagles are the better team. I mean, they're number 1 in my rankings this week. If you check out the Football's Awesome episode we did 2 days ago, you'll see that. But the Dolphins, I argue, have the better wins. But I'll say the Eagles also have played the most consistent football for 12 quarters of the season so far that they played. So I don't necessarily disagree wholeheartedly. I'm surprised the gap between the 2 teams and the voters is that wide. I'm a little surprised about that. So anyway, let's get to my week 4 best bets. 5 games, having a rough year. 8-9 for the year. Last year went 2-3 again. As I said earlier, all week long, NFL gambling this year, not the best. I had a great year last year. This year, not so much. But again, there's a lot of time ahead of us. We'll see how it goes. First game I'm gonna pick here. I like Detroit Lions -4 over the Seattle Seahawks. This line feels low. Detroit coming off a pretty, not say heartbreaking loss, but close to heartbreaking loss against Minnesota. They were up most of that game, up 10 late, and then Minnesota comes back, wins that game. I think Detroit comes back. Detroit's a better team. I think they'll go ahead and smash Seattle. Seattle's not good. I told you guys they're not good. The week 1 win against Denver was a fluke, but that moron, Nathaniel Hackett, it's the reason why they won that game. Reason why Seattle won that game. They should be 0-3. They're bottom 3 team in the league right now. Period. In discussion. Detroit will show that. They'll get -4. That feels like a steal almost. Detroit -4 over Seattle. I like the over on the big game of the week, the Buffalo Bills at Baltimore, over at 51 points. I feel like Buffalo's winning this game because this is a big narrative set game. This is a possible AFC title game preview. Who knows? But I'm staying away from picking the game. I'm staying away from it. The over at 51. I see a lot of scoring to Lamar and Josh Allen. Obviously, this should be a fun game. I can't wait for this one. The third game here, I like the Eagles to cover 7 points against the Jaguars. I see this game being competitive, though. This is Doug Peterson's first game in Philadelphia since getting fired from the team, a team that he obviously won a Super Bowl with back in 2018. But I do 2017 rather. But I do like the Eagles overall as a better team. The Jaguars are a team to look out for. As I said, they're better than Frisky probably. But I like the Eagles to cover 7 points slightly over the Jaguars. Then I like the Raiders to win the first game of the year. -1 over the Denver Broncos. Again, the Broncos they're lucky to be 2-1, should be 3-0. Vegas, this is their season pretty much for the Raiders. This is their season. If they don't get it done now, they're done for the year. So, and I think Vegas comes through here. They win this game against Denver outright in a desperate game where if they don't win it, the season's over. And finally, on Monday Night Football, I like the San Francisco 49ers to honestly win. And I think they're going to win this game pretty handily over the Rams. They've owned the Rams the last couple of years. The only loss they've had the last 3 years was the NFC title game this past season, which they almost won to themselves. The Rams, again, they're 2-1, but they've looked kind of shaky out the gate. And I think the San Francisco 49ers, again, another team that's desperate for a win, 1-2. I think they need to win, and they'll get it here. So give me the Niners to win outright 1 point, cover a point. So again, give me the Lions -4 with Seattle. Give me the over on Bills Ravens. The Eagles -7 over the Jaguars. The Raiders -1 over the Broncos, and then give me the Niners -1 over the Rams. All right, some NBA talk. Talking about the media day that's passed this week, last couple of days. Kyrie Irving says that his anti-vax position he had last year cost him close to or $100 million in potential salary. Well, that's your problem. Now look, let me be clear here. I think what he did was gutsy and stupid at the same time. What he did was gutsy, and what he did also was, the one thing I'll give Kyrie Irving credit for is this, is that even though I disagree with what he was doing, I respect it in some ways because it wasn't like he was saying one thing, doing another. He stood fast and held to his conviction. Now, again, I think it was dumb, my opinion, that what he was doing was stupid, but at the same time, I respect him sticking to his convictions. Again, I disagree with him on the topic, but I actually do respect him for, sticking to his convictions on the topic of anti-vax. Yeah, cost a lot of money. Cost probably the Nets also a possible championship last year, because when they did clear him to play the rest of the year and into the playoffs, they got swept with the Celtics, and they looked out of sorts. Now, that being said, I do think the Nets this year are going to be a problem. All things equal, this team should, at the very least, get to the conference finals this year. Because while they were trying to trade Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and God knows what the hell is going on with Ben Simmons, we know, they low-key put together a nice little roster, a nice little support staff. Now, granted, that was being done because they were trying to get rid of Kyrie and all that. So they're trying to put together a roster that's suited to be competitive. But now with Kyrie coming back for another year, now with Kevin Durant committing again now, that insane, he's off the trade market. And now we got Ben Simmons, who just did an interview with J.J. Redick on his podcast a couple days ago. I need to check it out. I might actually listen to that tonight as soon as I get off this podcast. All things equal, if the Nets can figure things out, get past the drama and all that, this team should be at worst in the conference finals this year in the East. Again, the East this year is tight. It's tough. It's actually very much deep. First time in probably about 30-something years that this East is as deep as it is. So, Kyrie can get paid next year. And again, Kyrie opted into his deal. So Kyrie potentially can make a lot of money going forward beyond this year. So there's a lot of motivation there for Kyrie Irving now to right the wrongs last year and get that salary back that he was hoping to get this year. Or this summer, rather. So, speaking of basketball, I actually just recorded tonight. This is why my voice is kind of shot a little bit. Hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. NBA over on this podcast. That'll be out. I'm gonna probably put it out either tomorrow or Friday or Saturday. We'll see. Next couple of days. But we did a good job. Me, Zach Degenerate, and the professor himself, Chris Manick, on the B's and Q's, and great podcast as always. Went through all 30 teams in the NBA, over-unders, my 1A, 1B favorite podcast of the year. That one in the NFL Over Under as well, too. We do every August. So look out for that on this feed in the coming days. What else here? I watched episode 8 of the Lakers documentary on Hulu. Continuing to run through that. Again, they're dropping it every Monday. And excellent episode here. Obviously, it starts off with the post-Kobe Shaq era where, it's Kobe and bust, Kobe or bust. The team struggling around Kobe for the time being for the first couple of years. They're no longer contender, of course. Probably the most interesting part of the documentary of that episode was the insight on Andrew Bynum. I forgot Andrew Bynum got drafted in 2005, actually. Or 6, what it was. 5 or 6. I forgot about that. I thought he got drafted a little bit later. And they go into depth about that because it tags along the fact that Jerry Buss, Dr. Buss, has started to give Jim Buss, his son, more power into running the team. And Jim Buss wanted to make a splash and make his name for himself, so he doubled down on the Andrew Bynum drafting Andrew Bynum, rather, even though there was a lot of red flags on the kid. A lot of people were saying he shouldn't draft him. Phil Jackson was against it, the 09. Jim Buss wanted to make a splash, and he believed in the kid, so he did that. And it goes into the whole thing of Jim Buss trying to prove himself, of course. Andrew Bynum turned out to be not as good as he was. He had a couple of good, decent years, but he was not as good as we, the people who basically people who were very apprehensive about drafting Andrew Bynum were proven right, obviously. Even though the Lakers did win a couple times with him in center. So, and then we get, of course, the end of the 2000s, where Kobe, threatens to get traded, requests a trade in 2007, almost gets traded to the Clippers, but then the Lakers decided to commit, and then they get Pau Gasol, and then they go on the run of go to the finals in 2008 against Boston, lose that series, and then they also win it the very next year against Orlando in the finals. So it's a fun episode. I can't stress enough to you guys just how great this documentary is. It's been fantastic. You need to watch it, please. If you haven't watched it, you love basketball or Lakers. All my Laker friends, especially too, I've been telling them if you haven't watched it, please go and do so. Fantastic episode. Again, it's so good that I'm reviewing on this podcast every week. So I'm giving a little insight about how good this thing is. So, one thing I realized a couple days ago that really hit me was that sports media here. I just realized that Skip and Shannon Undisputed on Fox FS1 is actually borderline unwatchable. So I don't really get to watch all those shows in detail anymore because I have no time. So what I do normally is I would, go on YouTube. I pay for YouTube Premium because I use it a lot. Don't want ads and all that. So what I do is I take all the big clips from all my favorite sports shows, debate shows, what do you call it, of the day. Add them in a playlist from First Take, from the Colin Cowherd Show, Pat McAfee, a couple of wrestling shows there too as well, but mostly sports. A couple of shows I watch. And I stopped, I used to do it for Skip and Shannon for a while. But I just realized I just don't enjoy their material anymore. And let me be clear here. It's not because of Shannon Sharpe. I think Shannon Sharpe is fantastic. Shannon Sharpe is the only reason why I even give that show a fighting chance. He's entertaining. He's smart. He makes the show somewhat watchable. It's Skip Bayless, man. Skip Bayless has gotten worse and worse as a character to the point where it's borderline just sad. I don't know if he really believes the things he says sometimes. It's not even things he says, it's the way he acts. And even the videos he does on social media, it's quite annoying actually. But some of his takes, man, he's always had a lot of bad takes through the years. But even now, it's just like I don't get it. It's like, ooh, really? You're gonna say that and with a straight face? And on top of that too, the clips that FS1 puts on their YouTube page is like 15, 20, 25 minutes long. Too long. Break it up, man. See, First Take does it right. They do it in between 4 and 7 minute intervals, of takes, and debates, and both shows are relatively run the same amount of time. I think Undisputed is about 2.5 hours, and the First Take is 2 hours. But I find that show unwatchable. Even in bite size, I can't do it. Not because of Shannon again. I mean, if Shannon Sharp can do it somewhere else and have another partner, fine. And the thing is, I used to give Skip Bayless a chance. I used to always be I wasn't never necessarily a huge Skip Bayless guy, but I always gave the guy a chance. I thought him and Stephen A. for a while was decent until Skip went on these tangents where it was borderline just unrealistic. I couldn't do it. But what I will say is this, though, is, we're about a year now removed from the time that Stephen A. Smith decided to, requested to part ways with Max Kellerman. Now, I'm a big Max guy, of course. I love Max. I thought Max is very intelligent. So at the time when they made this move, I was like, Stephen A., what are you doing? Stephen A. wanted to control the show. He had a formula he wanted to do, wanted to have a mixture of guests throughout, the week, different personalities from different phases of sports media, whether it's football season, basketball season, maybe. And at first I was like, I'm not sure I like this. I kind of like to have consistency of the same people on the show. But through the year, I've really started really enjoying First Take again. And I think it started to hit me during basketball season when he started bringing on JJ Redick, I think JJ Redick is the next big star, NBA media star, because he's authentic. He says a thing, whatever or not you agree or disagree with him, he says a thing and he has no problem talking to Stephen A. and telling him how he feels. And then he brought up my guy, Chris Mad Dog Russo, of Mike and Mad Dog fame. And he's on there with Wednesdays now. So they got a nice little formula now going on the First Take. And I really started enjoying it again, during basketball season, during the playoffs when they started doing, obviously, their takes and all that. And now, now you have during the football season, now you have Michael Irving on there on Mondays or Tuesdays, Skip Russo on Wednesdays and whatever. Chris Canty's on there. Marcus Root's on there too. Dominique Fossworth. They got a nice blend of people on there too. Who come in there and spar with Stephen A. I have to admit, Stephen A. made the right choice. It's not because Max is not good. Max is actually fantastic. But Max is a guy that likes to get into the weeds. Like when he talks and debates with you, he likes to get into the weeds. And for some people, I don't mind it, of course, because I feel like I'm learning with Max. But for a lot of people who wants to just get their fix in on debate, it's not good. It's not good. It's having that prolonged thing, And I think that was Stephen A.'s point. Stephen A. Max needed another platform to do that. Now, for the record, Max, I still follow Max. He has a radio show, does it in the morning from 6 to 9 with him, Jason Williams, and Keyshawn Johnson. I think it's a great show. I clip their stuff, too, also on ESPN. These are great things there. He has his boxing show, of course, as well, too. So he's gotten a spot now, But Stephen A., for what, love or hate the guy. And I get it, people don't like him anymore. But Stephen A. Smith what he does is he's great what he does. You may not like what he does. He's a character. He's loud. That's added because that's where we are. That's where we're at now as a business. People want to see that. We may not like it, but some people like what he does like that. Getting loud and whatnot, and getting the character and anti-Cowboys and all that stuff. He was right. He brought me back because I was kind of off the First Take train for a couple of years. Now, when Max got there, I was kind of back on it again because Max, again, I like what Max brings to the table. But, I understand what Stephen A. was trying to get to. And a year later now, it makes what whatever Stephen A.'s vision was, and I'm sure it's been realized now a year later, he was correct on. So, all right, before I get out of here, check. I got to apologize to my boy, Rob Barnett. I was on this podcast last week, the Rob Genius podcast, last Wednesday. I left the link on the show notes here. Check out my parents on this podcast from last week. It's called An Earnest Conversation. We talk strictly politics. So if you're into a little bit of politics, want to hear some of my political background, and not saying I was working in politics, but politics in terms of like me following and whatever, my belief in and all that. Check out the episode there. The link's on the in the show notes, of course, too. And another thing, too, also in the show notes, which also no link yet, but we're working on that now. We're working on merchandising on this show in the near future. My wife and I are actually getting together and working on some designs and for shirts and for mugs and other things of that nature. Look out for that. Anyway, my throat is cracking. I said 30 minutes. We got 30 minutes. Again, I am on Twitter at EachChristian7. Earn Speaking Earn Speaking Podcast on all podcast catchers, especially, please, guys, more than anything else, please, Earn Speaking on YouTube. YouTube page is definitely where I'm pushing more than anything else. So, anyway, guys, talk to you guys later. Love you guys. God bless. If you're in the path of the storm again, Hurricane Ian, please stay safe. I love you. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. And we will talk soon.